Welcome everybody, y'all. You are at the Phree Game Podcast. You
Phree
did.
Game.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, new sound effects.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, because we had to get ourselves out of where we were at that moment.
Facts.
We might have to go back there because it's just interesting to me. I think it's very interesting what you said about your heart being in places that you can no longer be physically. And what does that mean for us? How do we navigate life and grieve? Because you have to grieve in that. That's part of grieving is acceptance and accepting that, things are the way that they are. But also that how do you accept and also feel at the same time, you know what I'm saying? But, we're going to get there, you know what I'm saying? Right now, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, locking in, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate you. If you're new, you know how this go. You don't know how this goes. Welcome. We appreciate you. As I always say, I don't know how the hell you got here, but I'm very happy you showed up.
Welcome.
And I hope that you stay. Shout out to everybody that's been following our journey thus far. Thank you for locking in. Thank you for tuning in every conversation we have. Drop a comment below if you feel inclined to do so. If you agree with what we're saying, if you don't agree, if you got an input, we want to hear it. I want to hear it. Do you want to hear it?
I do want to hear it.
All right. You know what I'm saying? Because nothing that I'm saying is word is bond. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say I know everything. I'm king of knowledge. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you have something that you want to share and you disagree with what we saying up here, or you agree, please come to the podcast, share with us, talk to us. We want to build tribe and family and community and a tribe and a family and community that communicates. Right? We have to talk. We have to share knowledge. We have to share resources. We have to connect the dots, right? That's what we do here on the Phree Game Podcast is I try to connect the dots with the weird shit that's been going on in the world. And I hate talking about politics, and I hate talking about, media and what's happening in this damn industry and what we're seeing, because a lot of what's happening, we focus on when it's in our face, on TV and on our phones, is happening in our backyards. And so I don't like to get pressed too much on the facades of media, right? I like to stay deep in the roots of my backyard and figure out how, we communicate and we talk, about what community looks like. And oftentimes we have to pull in what's happening in media to do that. And,
sometimes you got to roll up your sleeves.
You got to roll up the sleeves. You got to get assertive a little bit, a little provocative.
Get into the muck and the mess.
The muck and the mess, the mud, the gravel, the dirt. You feel me? You got to get your hands dirty. You can't be afraid to get your hands dirty or break a nail. And,
Word.
So yes, all that to say, big ups to you. We are the Phree Game Podcast. My name is Phree. I'm joined every podcast with my man to my right, JG.
What it do?
You know what I'm saying? And we love you. We love to have you. And my man JG, how you been? You have been on a hell of a run. I was editing a podcast, and because past previously recorded podcasts, and we were like, oh yeah, got this going on
in a previous episode.
But we're weeks later. And I'm looking at your whole track record from the last month and a half.
Yeah.
And you've been sprinting out here. You've been 100-meter dashing.
We're trying to stay on the trajectory. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? You've been one foot in front of the other. You've been really putting the pedal to the metal. And I'm proud of you.
Oh, I appreciate you.
Just performing all over the damn place. Your throat don't ever go out of service. I just don't understand how you do it.
Hey.
What? I'm serious. You just be saying it. I'd be like, how?
It's important to use proper technique and to, self-care. But honestly, I can't stop, man. I feel like I've seen so many times, examples in my life, how time is not an endless commodity. And so I do the best that I can to use my time well. It may not always be wisely from everybody's perspective, but from my perspective, I'm trying my very best, putting my best efforts towards using my time well. And so to me, that means using the gifts, the talents that I've been given to enrich the world, enrich the culture, enrich the community. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to give it all away before I'm out of here, honestly.
Well, let's go back to the heart space. Speaking of giving it all away.
Yeah.
So you said sometimes,
Yes.
you know, when, home, it's tricky because in the idea of home and your heart being in a place that you can no longer be physically, how do you manage that? Do you just stay busy? Do you focus on something else? I mean, you're an Aquarius, so it is different the ways that y'all be compartmentalizing, kind of trying to be, but
Yeah, I mean,
how do you go through life? Because I used to call myself a hopeless romantic. I call myself a hopeful romantic, right?
I like that.
I am a hopeful love. I just find so much hope in love, right? And I am also somebody that's like that feeling that you're talking about, where it's like my heart being in a place that I like can't be or in proximity. That's just hard. Like, how do you swallow that? Like, does the grieving ever end? Like, when does it? When do you? When do you like?
That's the realest question, though.
Like, sometimes I feel like I have to go back and pick up my pieces of my heart in places to put it back together. Like, I'm just.
Yo, it's not. I mean, it's
crazy.
It's funny, but it's not.
It's not funny. It ain't funny. I'd be like, dang, like you just cause like, okay, think about it. Like, you get in a relationship, you break your heart, get your heart broke, or whatever the hell happens,
right.
And then you move on to the next thing. I mean, you're supposed to heal in the process, so your heart's supposed to
right.
But
if you in between.
But say you get to that person that you're like, yo, my heart is here, no matter whether my body is here or not, my heart is here, even when I have to go, right? Like, how do you manage to how do you manage to love someone else, right? Like, then you can get another relationship when you're like, okay, what is healing mean? Like, when you no longer feel like your heart is in someone else's space? Like,
So I have
what does the healing look like?
I have a very interesting perspective on healing just based on life experience, right? So because I had complete kidney failure and I've had a kidney transplant, it has very much affected my idea of what healing means, right? Because like in my younger days, never wore a shag, but that's cool. Shout out to Far Side.
What is shag? Not like shag.
Like Far Side has the tune "Pass Me By." In my younger days, I used to wear a shag. When I went to school, I carried lunch in a bag. So a shag is like, you know how some people have more hair up top and then the sides are faded?
Okay, got it, shag.
So a shag is like the back has more hair.
Okay, I do know what a shag is.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Was it Ralph Tresvant?
Jesus Christ.
Wowzers. Shout outs to New Edition. Legends, pioneers. Yo, so
Roxbury gang, you dig me?
So in my younger days, I used to think, oh, healing is complete restoration to how things were before. Right?
You can never go back to the way things were before.
I mean, in age and wisdom, you understand that, right? But like
you never go back to the way you were. When somebody comes into your life and has that kind of impact, there is no back.
There is no back, right? So to me, healing is figuring out that way forward that allows you to acknowledge what's happened, even understand how what's happened affects the way that you see and experience life now. But it does not dictate your actions, does not dictate your reactions. It does not dictate your feelings about what's next. And I think that like in a physical sense, right? Like I have a new kidney. It's dope. It is not the kidneys that I had before. thankfully, right? Because those kidneys failed. But at some point, those were some healthy kidneys. There were 2 of them. It was, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that there's sometimes a romanticism for like, oh, yes, when I'm healed, everything's going to be great again. And it's like, nah, you carry your scars with you. You carry your hurts with you. You carry your pain with you. But you don't let that be the defining characteristic of you. And that's what healing is.
Yes. Got it. Understood. My question is,
Go ahead.
how do you, like, okay, you healed, it doesn't define your characteristics, but your heart is still in that place.
Yeah.
What do you do with that? You just go on through life with your heart being somewhere else? Just, I give it to you, Lord. I give it to you.
Oh.
Like, I don't know.
This is a tough one, right? Because like sometimes the process is you figure out how to get your heart to return to you. Sometimes you figure out if the place that you called home has burned down, is no longer there.
What if I feel like I got twin hearts? Because when I feel like meaning
I've actually heard this phrase before.
Because what if, like, I don't feel like I lost my heart. So like when I'm like, yo, my heart, or I could resonate with my heart being in another place, I don't feel like I'm without a heart. Like I still feel my heart beating in my, like I'm love, like it does not, when it's there, it doesn't mean that I don't have it. It's like, I feel like I have 2. or multiple hearts. Like I feel like my heart can be in another place and not feel like I'm without my own heart. Like I'm without love. I'm without self-love. I'm without, but still feel like my heart is somewhere else. Like it just is. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I'm describing
you're actually
it.
describing it really well.
I know it sounds crazy, but it's the truth. And
it doesn't. It resonates.
So what do you do with that? It's like, okay, heart, I hope you're well. I love you from afar. Like, it's my heart. Come back.
Sometimes you gotta love it from afar. That's facts. Wow. Ugh.
God, that's not even what we came in for. It's not even on the docket. It's not even on the whiteboard.
I mean, it's not on the whiteboard, but it was definitely on the docket. I mean,
I'm just saying, like, and like you could keep going, fine. But like, doesn't that mean then you settling? I don't like that feeling of settling. I want to be where my heart is.
I wonder sometimes about that settling, right? Because I think that
it's like I'm just going to learn to love someone else.
Sometimes we find the familiar and it feels so safe. It feels so good. This is familiar. And when we can't have that familiar anymore, it's like, oh, do we chase the familiar? Do we make a new familiar? Right? And like sometimes people think that settling is letting go of your familiar. Sometimes people think that settling is making your familiar the only option that you have, right? And it just, it's so contextual.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just because you're saying it the way you're saying it. But like, I think like, I mean like, to me, settling is like, okay, if I know that my heart is somewhere else and I meet someone or I go venturing out and I go be with someone else. And while I'm with someone else, I know that like I could love you, but like my heartbeat is not. It's like here,
your
like I love you.
Your deepest desire is somewhere else.
Man, not even that. Like I feel like it's beyond desire for me. I don't know. Never mind. I just want to change the conversation at this.
We can change the conversation.
It's just, it's not a desire because then, like, I feel like desire, that's ego. And then, like, it's more so like.
I guess we didn't really define the word desire. I just threw that out there.
Desire to me sounds like, it's like ego. It's like versus, something that you want, that you yearn, that you want, as opposed to something that is like good for you. And even if I'm saying my heart is somewhere else, is necessary, I'm going to have the desire to be there. My heartbeat doesn't equate my yearning for you. I don't have a desire to necessarily be with, but more so like, what is that shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck is that shit? And like, more about purpose and like less about desire, less about yearning. And maybe there's a yearning in that heartbeat analogy, right? Like,
yeah.
But it's not about, I just want you. I just want you. It's like, yo, what is that?
Right. I see what you're saying about how it's not desire. I guess my definition of desire was more, this is the thing that I feel is ideal, the thing that I feel is good for me, the thing that is what I need. This is my deepest desire. So like when I say desire, I don't mean like, just in a carnal sense, like, or I don't just mean like, I need to be there physically, although that could be part of it as well, right? Like, so for example, if I got bit by a snake, my deepest desire in that moment would be anti-venom, because that's the thing that's going to help me. It's the thing that I need. It's the thing that will help me to sustain. It's the thing that will help me to survive, right? And desire changes, but there are some desires that are deeper. And there is some ego in it, right? Like the desire for survival is driven by ego, for sure, right? But like that doesn't mean that desire is a bad thing. Ego is very effective at helping us to survive. But yeah, it's you got philosophical today, and right off the rip,
because like that, you triggered it, man. When you said the thing,
I'll be triggering sometimes,
and also like it just was a conversation I was just recently having too. And don't say okay, like I'm just gonna divulge the conversation.
No,
I just it was relative to the statement you made about your heart being in a place and feeling like, I understand. I get that. Yeah. That feeling, Yeah. It's interesting. And, the sitting in that is hard. And that's the challenging part, is like sitting in, the acceptance. But that's what we got to do. Acceptance is fucking hard as shit. You know what I'm saying?
But it's also crucial.
Crucial, baby. And rejection is God's protection, baby. You know what I'm saying? If it ain't there, it's not meant to be. And, that accepting that sometimes is hard. Like, dang, I wish where I was at. But learning to stay present, learning to, feel gratitude for what is here and for me has been, what I hold on to, because like, all that other shit is depressing. There's love, and just like, I love a lot. If I loved you once, I love you forever.
I mean,
I love you forever. Like I love you, man. I don't know what you want me to do with it. Period. I didn't thought about that too. I went down the Rolodex of exes I had. And I was like, do I love you? Yeah. Do I love you? Yeah.
That's amazing.
But it's true.
I mean, hey.
Because I've learned so much from my relationships, from my life, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that, it was so rocky in those relationships, y'all. Like, I learned so much. And when I look back, I'm like, dang, they taught me this crucial thing I needed to learn, or something I do now, or something I, transformed, into, or something it's like, wow, I remember when, this person gave me this little token, this little gem, you know what I mean? Here it comes back, full circle moment. Like, I love that. And it makes me reflect and feel grateful about, I'm gonna go a little deeper. What do you do if okay, never, I don't want to go that deep. Yeah, I do. Fuck it.
Go ahead.
Because it's been on my mind too. Talking about we talk about relationships, and I'm talking about, past relationships, whatever. When a relationship doesn't work out and you're someone that has created, you've been a cause of harm in your relationship, and you have learned, a lot of time has passed, you have done, do you ever go back to like rectify or like to offer something to like the past people that you've hurt? Is that a thing?
Something other than an apology?
Yeah. Not something other than an apology. Yes, an apology. Like, do you go back and say, I'm sorry for X, Y, and Z that took place? Or how, like what? Because
if you feel you've wronged someone, you should apologize to them.
But is that part of healing, right? Like, and it made me think of this because we're often talking about community accountability. We're often talking about restorative justice. We're often talking about what does it look like to be rehabilitated,
Yeah.
And I was listening to some other podcasts and they were talking about, in terms of rehabilitation and coming full circle and people that have gotten arrested and gone to jail and then they come back 30 years later. I was watching a documentary on the Mendez brothers or whatever. They killed their parents, apparently, unalived their parents.
They did.
But they 30 years later are coming back to say, here's where we were, here's where we're at, and here's the T.
I know there's a movie and there's a documentary
out right now.
I haven't watched either one yet.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of both. But I used to be a fan of like crime TV and like that. I can't watch it a lot anymore. Like that just
it's a lot.
It's a lot. But anyways, the point is that we're having conversations around like, what does rehabilitation look like? I know that's extreme, right? When we're talking about unaliving people and then coming back to be like, well, 30 years later, let me offer an apology, But even in restorative justice, so someone creates harm, does harm, what does restorative justice look like? Is a part of restorative justice saying 7 years later, I'm sorry?
I think that there is no restorative justice without an acknowledgement of the harm. I think that there is no healing without an acknowledgement of the harm.
But what if you can't get to the person? What if you don't, like, how do you?
If you can't get to the person, for what reason? They
like,
don't
how do you
want to be
reach out
gotten to, or
like, how do you reach out to someone? Like, you was in a relationship, something went down, like y'all broke up, they blocked you on everything, like 10 years pass, and you're like a different person in a different place, and you want to offer.
I would tend to try to respect people's boundaries. If someone doesn't want to hear from me, I'm not going to force them to hear from me.
Right.
And the apology, honestly, is probably more to soothe my conscience than anything else. Right? If someone has blocked me and doesn't want to hear from me and has completely put me out of their life, I mean, I hope that they on their own are figuring out how to move on.
So you don't believe it's on any particular person to reach out to offer an apology?
I guess what I'm saying,
if there's been work done around.
If the door is open to make the apology, make the apology. But if the person really doesn't want to hear from you, absolutely do not force it.
Man, I agree. Respect boundaries. I'm 1,000% on boundaries. I'm 1,000% on respecting people's boundaries, man, for real. But I also at the same time hear these, I often think about or hear conversations around what it looks like to, for somebody to rehabilitate. Like, how can they be rehabilitated?
I mean,
what is the thing that you would need for there to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, you always just gonna be that thing? Like, what is the thing that?
I mean, apologizing for past wrongs is a prominent part of 12-step programs, of rehabilitation, of, even in the criminal justice system, acknowledging that you've done something and that you regret it or feel bad about it is part of getting parole or getting out of prison at all, right? Depending on what's gone down. I think that in our society and in our culture, we do value the apology.
Do we? Do we value the apology?
In general, yes. Specifically, it could go either way. And it's up to people to decide if they think that apology is sincere or not, too.
Well, that's a great segue. But before I get off the topic, anybody out there, restorative justice, engagement specialists, organizers, please tap in. I would love to have you up here and talk to you and have a podcast around what that looks like, how that actually happens, and what's the proper way to, rehabilitate folks in the community, because we got to stop disposing of people. We just got to stop outcasting people. We really, really do. And I think there's a way that we can hold community and spaces for folks to fuck up and not be unalived for it. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
So, moving right along, you got jury duty.
I do.
How you feel about jury duty?
I've always had a pretty enthusiastic attitude towards jury duty, in the sense that I never feel bad to be called for jury duty, and when I am called for jury duty, I typically try to land on a jury.
Why?
Because I think that as a member of a demographic that is overly affected by the decisions made by the criminal injustice system in this country, any chance that I have, any opportunity that I have to have a voice in the process of deciding guilt or innocence, and certainly in the process of deciding what a fair punishment should be, is an opportunity that I'm going to take every time. It is, the history of the
do you think
history
that's
of this
even
country
impactful at jury duty? Like, if you made it to be a juror, do you even?
Every time that I've been on a jury, I've been the foreman.
Oh, because you're just big bad Aquarian. Got you. Leo.
I don't know. It's just the way it works out. But even if I was not the foreman,
teasing, but you should be the foreman. I'd put you as the foreman.
Even if I wasn't the foreman, I would certainly be a loud ass voice in the room.
Yeah. Well,
I can think of one case in particular where I was on the jury.
Hey, don't get us canceled out here, man.
No, it's not.
Telling.
This was years and years and years ago in a different state. Nah, none of it is confidential. It's all public record now.
No.
Once the trial is over, it's all public. That's why these jurors on these big televised trials be coming out with books and stuff. Juror number 4, blah, blah, blah.
He did it.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it was a brother in a different state, not Massachusetts, and he had robbed a check cashing place, not particularly successfully. The alarm got tripped. The police showed up, and he decided to get into a shootout with the police. He felt it was his option. On a public road, bullets went all over the place, including into other buildings, places that were not involved in the immediate conflagration. And they presented the evidence and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, he was found guilty. Absolutely. But in the state that I was in, the jury also gets to decide sentencing. And because he was in a firefight with a police officer, they charged him with attempted capital murder, which in that state, the penalty could be being unalived by the state.
You unalived him?
Absolutely not.
Shit.
I'm sorry, but no.
I mean, it was the way you were telling the story. I thought you was about to say you. Yeah, I mean, he didn't.
And me being in the room was definitely the difference between.
Folks wanted him unalived.
Oh, they absolutely made strong cases for it. So I was glad I was in the room.
Well, I ain't never sat on a jury, but I've been in a room. And there's these young kids, Latin descent. And as soon as I went up to the jury, to the judge, So once you get in the room and then they got them standing there and you go one by one, you go up to the to the judge, he asks you a question. I thought I was cool because I was in school I was in school at the time in college. And, he was like, yeah, you can go. I was like,
wow. Gave you the boot. Ay.
Damn, why? You don't want any college kids studying that on the jury.
It was the judge's decision, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, he asked me a question. I answered the question.
You answered it honestly. There's several ways that they get people off juries. But, you should answer the questions honestly because
I thought I was answering the question right. I mean, it was honest, but I thought it was answering right. Like, I thought that was the answer.
Oh, for sure. I'm a shoe.
It's like, look at my record. Look at what I'm doing. He was like, nope, we don't want you to do that. He was like,
nah, we're good.
You got too much information, man. We need people that don't know shit about fucking law to make this dance decision.
Right?
That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
I was literally going to school for this shit. I was like, yeah, I got it.
They don't want people.
Nope. What do you do for work? Oh, yeah, nah. Nope. It's like, what? I'm the perfect candidate. No, you're not. We don't want anyone that knows the ins and outs.
It's really very interesting, the tack that defense lawyers take versus prosecutors take versus how judges view this process, et cetera, et cetera. And, trial by jury is a right ensconced in the Constitution, jury of your peers. And in the history of this country, it has been very, very rare for any person of color, male, female, whatever race, ethnicity, to really get a jury of their peers. Particularly when you look at the way that race plays into the way that socioeconomic class plays into whether people receive fair trials or not. You literally have to be rich in order to be a non-white person that gets a semblance of a fair proceeding. And it's just...
There's nothing about the court that's fair.
There's nothing
about the court that's fair. Like
exactly.
the attorneys, just their responsibility in general is not fair.
Nope. Because their responsibility is not to the truth.
It's
to their case.
To their case and to their client.
That's it.
Period. And if you got a really good defender, a defense attorney, you can get your ass out of it. What's his name? Cochran.
Oh, Johnny Cochran?
Johnny Cochran. You know what I'm saying? Get your ass out of anything.
Yeah, he didn't win everything, but he won a lot of cases that people thought he wouldn't.
A lot. I'm just saying. It's the theatrics, it's the stage performance, it's if you got the gift of gab, it's how you could put it together. It ain't really about, or it's poking holes in your
but also at the same
in your
time,
argument. Can you sway the jury?
But also at the same time, you could be not guilty of something and be railroaded into taking a plea, taking a deal, because you don't have a good lawyer. You don't have the resources.
Man.
And they've convinced you that, hey, if you go to trial, it could be this, but we could guarantee you that it won't be any more than this.
That was huge for like where I come from, Roxbury Gang. But like, inner city, black people don't understand that like, once you get arrested, they gotta have the stuff, whether you did it or not, right? I'm not swaying either way. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that folks just don't understand the logistics. They get scared. They fear, what's going to happen or what the court can do once they have them in their possession. So they're like, oh, I'm going to just take a plea. What? I'll get out in a couple of months. Or I could just go right now if I just say.
Completely change the trajectory of your life.
And they don't understand that they're saying, I agree to the facts that are on the, that
right. You're saying, I did it.
I did this. I'm agreeing. There'd be no murder weapon. Sorry, y'all. There'll be no nothing. No evidence. That's the word I should have used. There'd be no witnesses, no evidence, no nothing. They'd be like, yes, I did it. Take the plea.
Yeah, that intimidation is wild. I've been watching this series on Peacock called The Capture. I just found it. It's based in the UK. They have these CCTVs all over the place, particularly in London. It's like the most covered city by camera on the face of the planet, right? The government is watching everything. And I won't give away too much, but it's basically about how CCTV footage has been faked to railroad people. And it gets into all this intrigue and all this spycraft and all this, that, the other, and the third. But it really gets at this idea of like, well, we fudged the evidence because we knew that they were guilty. And there's this lawyer who is very much like, you say you know they're guilty, but you got to prove it in the system. You got to prove it. You got to prove it. You got to prove it. Right? And it's like, there are arguments to be made on both sides. If the system is corrupt, whatever. Right? But like, if the system is corrupt, who does that hurt? Who does that affect? Who does that mostly come down on?
But the system is corrupt. And when
and who does that mostly come down on is my question.
Police plant evidence all the time.
Facts.
Police bullshit reports all the time. People
lie to people when they're questioning them.
You know what I'm saying? Threaten, interrogate, whatever.
Withhold food, withhold sleep,
arresting people without
comfort.
reading them their Miranda right, doing all types of stuff without like, and they don't care because they feel like they got the power. And when blue uniforms will protect blue uniforms, and that's literally like an oath you have to take when you sign on to that. And so they cover each other's ass, and it's really.
And part of what happens too is like people feel like they get a level of comfort from this crime entertainment industry, right? Because there's the prison industrial complex, but then there's this crime entertainment industry because, like you said, it's such a popular topic. Like we make a documentary about it. We make TV shows about it. We make reality shows about it. We make drama shows about it. We make comedy shows about it, right? Any time of day, you can turn on TV somewhere and watch a show about cops for free, right? And it's just like
reality TV, baby.
The cops and robbers that people play when they're kids. All of this idea, permeates, and people get their legal advice from watching Law and Order, and that's not how it works. The most valuable legal advice anyone can ever give you. Don't answer questions.
Speaking of cops and robbers.
Don't answer questions.
I used to spray my sister's cat, Precious. Her cat, she used to have
Precious?
With a water gun playing cops and robbers.
I'm sure Precious didn't like that at all.
My sister didn't either. She hates me. I'm sorry.
Were you treating Precious like a cat burglar? Is that what was going on?
I mean, I was trying to find
was Precious the police?
I mean, I think I wasn't playing cops and robbers. I was playing just moving target. I don't know.
Moving target is crazy. I
was just trying to
dance, Precious, dance.
I was like in training or something, like, obstacle course or something. Hide behind the door, spin around, roll around on the ground, shoot the cat. I don't know.
But yeah, I've been having a lot of conversations lately about how both the criminal and justice system, the political system in this country seeks to pit people against each other and to remove empathy, right? Like this idea.
Desensitization.
That you're not like me, so I don't have to care about you.
Well, you're not like me in terms of hierarchy. Like, I feel like you're not like me because I have this.
You have different beliefs. Oh, you committed a crime that I've never committed. Oh, you this, that, and it allows me to dehumanize you. I have no empathy for you. So whatever happens to you, and I can convince myself that I deserve it. We're in October. We're in spooky season. Everybody's watching Hocus Pocus and all these spooky movies about the witch trials and this, that, the other, and blah, that happened in the 16 freaking hundreds. And we really haven't come that far from that.
Speaking of that, I'm tired of Netflix and everybody else. Just every time Halloween come, there ain't nothing else to watch but some gory ass haunted thriller that don't even make no damn sense. The videography is off. The graphics is off. I don't want to watch horror film. Though you know what was on Netflix that popped up?
Baby. Let's go.
Interview with the Vampire. I I was an
Hey,
Interview with the Vampire fan.
Have you
when
seen
I
the new
was
TV series?
No, but if you watch Interview with the Vampire now, oh my God, it is trash, basura. But let me tell you,
But back
when I was a kid, I used to watch that shit 6 times a day. Like, it was dope. I wanted to get some onions and sharpen my wood. And okay, never mind. Make swords and knives out of wood and shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You were ready to slay some vampires?
I was always wanted to be a vampire.
Oh, word.
I wanted to be the vampire.
You wanted to be the vampire.
I wanted to slay him and be him.
So they did. So you wanted to be Blade. It would be a Daywalker. Daywalker. Anyway, yo, are they going to bring Blade back? They keep flirting with this idea. They said they cast Mahershala Ali. I ain't seen a movie or a trailer
Don't
yet.
bring Blade back. Leave it where it's at.
Really? I think they could do a dope job with
Just
the new
leave it where
effects.
it's at. Did you see Bad Boys 12? They said Will Smith was at the Diddy parties.
Ride or die. A lot of people were at the Diddy parties.
They came out with a list. All y'all was on the list.
There were
And
some pretty massive parties.
I see a couple of y'all copping pleas out there.
Copping, please.
Y'all be out there like, yeah, I mean, damn, them Diddy parties. But I used to leave early. I would leave early. Everybody would just, they got to tell you
People
up
trying
front
to get their story out there
for real. Before they find out you on a list, you made it to a video or something. Kevin Hart, he's all over the damn video. He done hosted the parties.
Yeah.
He's all over the screen.
Listen, man. Some of those parties, some portion of those parties was just the industry party shit, which a lot of people show up to. Sometimes people are there just because there's an opportunity to meet people. There's an opportunity to network. These are large parties. They want lots of people there. The size of it, the blah, 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 this, that, the other. I'm more interested in, okay, so after the general public, not general public, obviously, right? You have to have some sort of end to get an invite to this party. But after the general population of the party leaves and we're, just the, whatever small group, blah, blah, and the people that Diddy was allegedly, we'll still say, because it hasn't been proven through the system that we were just talking about, right? Videotaping and blackmailing people and whatever he was using all those sex toys and baby oil for, which honestly, if you want to have freaky parties, have freaky parties. The minute you want to videotape people secretly, the minute you want to blackmail people, the minute you want to blow up people's fucking cars and you want to beat people in hotels and have the footage be removed and hidden, listen, man, I got no more time for you, bro. Like, be a freak.
This is the thing.
That's fine.
Okay,
let your freak flag fly. It's all good.
That's fine. We can keep talking about Diddy's nasty, obsessive, whatever. But can we please talk about, I'm always talking about this complacency shit and the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
Can we please keep talking? And I love that people are poking holes and reaching out to and looking at and zeroing in on all the people that were around him. Because yes, he is okay who he is. But he couldn't be that without the people around him.
Without the machine.
They couldn't be that.
Without the freaking machine.
Without all of y'all.
Who was keeping all the secrets and why were y'all keeping it secret?
Then, not to mention that, like, there's some, you go down the rabbit hole, YouTube theories, but like the young Miami and the women that were involved with him that were helping him get like
more
people. They were the recruiting team. And often in culty situations, that's what you hear is like, it's not the head. They got people working for them to go get the people to bring them in. And then, he comes into play. And so we aren't looking, there's some scopes in certain places, but like, that's what people got to hold each other and the people around them accountable too, because
I think that it's very telling that in the short time before they arrested this man finally and an indictment came out, the music industry folded. Mm-hmm. There was all this news about, the labels have shut down, the sub-labels have laid off all the workers, have sent everybody home. I was talking to one of my friends in the industry. I was like, they came in one day and they were like, y'all don't work here anymore. Maybe some of y'all never worked here. You know what I'm saying? Like they shut
Shut
it
it down.
down. It was like being in the freaking towers in New Jack City. They literally like had the shutdown plan. They erased all the servers. They wiped everything out as if they had never been there. Right? The industry folded. And then once they shut down all the sub labels, then the CEOs of the major labels and major label adjacent companies are all of a sudden stepping down out of nowhere and blah, blah, and this, that, the other. And some of these people, a lot of these people got a heads up. And there was a lot of shredding. And there's a lot of shit that we now might not ever know unless there's a whistleblower who chose to jack some documents or stash something away for a rainy day or whatever, that how involved this was throughout the music industry, talking about the label side of the industry, right? Because the music industry is a huge, large thing, right? And like, if you talk about the most visible part of it, right? Like the part of the iceberg that's above the water, that's the famous people, right? And then underneath is most of the people that work in the music industry who are not famous at all, right? But who are literally working to pay their bills. And maybe they were on somebody's payroll, right? Who is on Diddy's list, but they ain't got nothing to do with that. This is just their job. This is what they do, right? But like being able to pick apart, okay, who was in the know, who was complicit, who this, that, the other, becomes a lot less viable when the companies where those records are held, the places that you could audit, the places where you could go and hold people accountable, now no longer exist. It's like the greatest cleaner job in history that happened right in front of our eyes. You blame it on the economy. Streaming. Oh, this, that, the other, blah, blah. Nah, that timing is way too suspicious. Streaming been going on for a minute. They've been lamenting this. Yeah. Why did they shut all this shit down simultaneously? It's coordinated. They need to look into that too.
Well, you use the word whistleblower. I mean, there's been people for years that's been saying this stuff. Shout out to Cat Williams. Shout out to Jaguar Wright. Shout out to Orlando Brown. Everybody think that Orlando Brown is crazy as hell. I love Orlando Brown.
He might be, but that doesn't mean he's lying.
Shout out to Orlando Brown. Have you watched his interviews?
Yes.
Have you listened to him?
Yes.
No, like, bro.
That brother is.
Yeah, it's going over your head. It's going over your head, but it's meant to go over your head. But he's trying to tell you. He's telling you. But
he's trying to tell you on a mental level. He's trying to tell you on an economic level. He's trying to tell you on a spiritual level.
Let me explain to you something. When he is saying on that interview, when he keeps being asked about Diddy, and he keeps saying Diddy is my daughter.
Yeah.
I just watched an interview recently that he did, and they keep pressing him about the conversation because he's been. Yeah. But he'll say stuff like that. People think he's crazy. Oh, he's nuts. Do you hear what he's saying? Doesn't make sense. He's saying Diddy is his daughter. That's his daughter now. Y'all don't get that shit? You don't get what he's talking about? No? He said, they tried to ask him about Cassie. Cassie is his wife, he said. He said, what'd he say? He said somebody else is his other daughter. Jay-Z. He said Jay-Z is my other daughter. What you want me to say about my daughter? He said, you want me to talk about Diddy getting caught? He said, you want me to talk about my daughter getting caught? I mean, damn. My daughter got caught. I mean, y'all don't get it? Do you get it? Do you understand what he's saying? Or am I reaching?
Yo, it is obvious that Orlando Brown knows things.
Yes.
And often in the parlance of the culture, if you say that you've sunned somebody, you know what I'm saying? It means like, yo, there's nothing you can do to me. I own you. I'm over you. I'm above you. He is obviously saying that the things that he knows it's curtains for these cats.
He's saying that I can't go against Diddy because they'll come after my daughter. I can't go against Jay-Z because they will come after my daughter. Because part of what happens in this industry and what's being let out the bag with people like Jaguar Wright keep talking about, what Orlando Brown has been saying for years about this, is like there is this idea of like, quote unquote, an initiation or you have to get through something. You have to sacrifice to get to a certain place. And a lot of these stars that became, these young people that became stars, passed through Diddy in becoming stars, right? And Orlando Brown is someone that has passed through Diddy in his stardom. We know Orlando Brown started as a young kid. Orlando Brown has also said publicly on this interview, or has insinuated, that he has had relations with Diddy. That Diddy has... And he's talked about what you have to do. There's so many people in this industry, like, what's the problem? Like, you know that what you're signing up for. The person sitting right next to you was doing the same thing you were doing that's now saying it's a problem. When one person says it's a problem, now it's a problem, but everybody's complacent. Everybody's got their hands dirty in it. Orlando Brown is saying also, what I take from it, when he's saying these people are my kids and this person is my wife, the same way Kanye would been saying and screaming for years about sacrifices, the same way that DMX has been talking about talked about sacrifices in this industry, how it's not a coincidence that certain people are passing away, you know, what they have to do to gain this fame or this level of monetary value or money. It's not a game, and we play and we talk about it and everybody laughs and they don't think they don't see past the facade. Or when you start talking about the truth, like behind the curtains, it's like beyond people. It's like, nah, what? That's crazy. But it's in your face. Something could be so in your face and so ugly and nasty in your face, and people just don't want to see it. They just be like, eh. But that's the truth. And people been saying it for years. You know, we after this fame, we after this money, but at what cost? You know, he can't say shit about Diddy at the cost of his daughter.
But he's already said things about Diddy though.
Not about his sex parties or anything that would make him say that anything federal or that could go against him in court.
Saying,
he's
never testifying. Yeah,
he's never said anything in his interviews.
Yeah.
He has made suggestive remarks. He has done certain things that suggest, but he will never and has never said, yeah, Diddy was doing this. He has always said, yo, that's, you know, like, and now you got, you know, I don't think Orlando Brown is trying to sun anybody. I think Orlando Brown has been trying. He's trying
to protect his family.
He's trying to protect his family. I think Orlando Brown has been a hurt person for a very long time. He is somebody this industry has done crazy dirty to.
Since he was a child.
And he gives you his ass to kiss. And he does it in the way he does it because he wants you to think he's crazy, because y'all been saying it for years anyway. He wants you to think he's fine. Do what you gotta do. And also, it's to protect himself. I really think that shit. It's to protect himself. He think he's just nuts. Yeah, he's nuts. Let him be nuts over there.
Yeah.
Wendy Williams, you nuts. Kanye, you nuts.
Like I said, he might
Cat Williams, you nuts.
He might be, he might not be, but he knows things.
Everybody that knows things that have been vocal about it has just been nuts. Been sent off somewhere. You crazy, you mentally ill. You know that they deteriorating, their health is deteriorating. Like, what you think that's for play? All right. I'm off that though. This Diddy shit is crazy. It's going to continue to unfold. You know, they made a statement saying there was 100 and some, you know, whatever names, and they're not going to come out until they're sure. So that it sticks, because you know how the feds be. But like also,
Yeah, and what
I
does
don't think it's cute that
what does
y'all are
your-
out there. Hold on. I don't think it's cute that once they open the line up, there was, I guess, a survey that went out or told a phone number that you could call
Right,
to
hotline.
report, or a hotline that you could report. And people just doing it off the strength to get a bag or to jump in on the civil suits. Like people making fun of it on TikTok and on Instagram. I'm watching people, make a video of them filling out the form online to like for play. Like shit ain't funny, yo. It ain't funny. None of this is funny.
Nah.
I don't think it's for play because people that are really, you know what I'm saying, in need and need that help or that need that, like you making it. This is the problem. Y'all are the problem. Like y'all, put your phone down unless you gonna do something about it. Unless you finna contribute. Unless you finna reach out and be there to help support something or somebody. Like here, y'all doing dumb shit out here in the world. Dumb shit on social media. Let people be. Like, if you ain't got shit to do with it, let it be. If you ain't gonna provide a solution to it, let it be. That's how I feel about that, man. I'm tired of this Diddy shit. I ain't even want to talk about this shit, but I know it's so fucking prevalent. It's so in our face. It's a conversation we need to keep. But it's just like the whole system need to calm down. The whole thing, the whole machine. That's all we keep saying. Whether we're talking about the government, whether we're talking about community, whether we're talking about the industry, all of that shit, everything. We just need a new wipe that shit. Yo.
It is
What do you do, man? What do you do? There's gonna be dark shit everywhere you go. There's gonna be some bullshit everywhere you go. What are you gonna do? You sift through it. You figure out. You weed out the shit you don't need that ain't for you, and you keep the rest, whatever, and you keep it pushing. But like, man, I don't know, man. I don't even want to talk about no more, man. I really don't. Like, okay. I mean, you could. I'm not saying you can't talk. You could. I'm just saying I don't want to. I'm done. If you got anything else to say,
I'm much more interested in the broader issues. I think that particular individual, all signs point to him being toast. But also a lot of signs point towards people who should not be protected from the same fate being protected. Stuff being hidden, things being shredded, things being tucked away. I don't like it.
That silence culture shit is out, man. Like, silent shit is out. Stop trying to hide up. Sorry if I'm screaming in. Stop trying to hide, you know what I'm saying? Covering up for people, covering up for the messy shit. Like,
yeah, just let it be.
I just feel like I talk about this shit all the time. Like, I just keep repeating myself. But anyways, that's all I got on that. You got anything else?
Nah, I think we said enough today.
Yeah, we can keep it brief. I said this the last time. I was editing a podcast.
We'll get at y'all next time.
I was editing a podcast 2 days ago, and I was listening, playing it. And at the end of the thing, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna keep it short and sweet. 45 minutes later, I'm like, there was nothing short and sweet about 45 minutes, Phree. Like, that was a whole lot. Anyways, that's it. And you keep checking your phone. Look at him. You see this shit? You all right?
Sometimes the real world creeps in.
Is it about your heart being in another place?
No.
Oh, man. Anyways, my heart is right here with y'all. I love y'all. Again, you at the Free Game Podcast. I appreciate you for joining. Until next time, baby, we out.
We love y'all. Peace.
We gotta do it one more time.
You are now in tune to the Free Game Podcast.
Okay. Y'all are dope.